Hey, and welcome to my submission for Exemplary course. So I'm Louis Nenny, and this is my English 231 course that I think is pretty good. I'm just going to share a few of the highlights with you guys. First of all, what I have is my instructor section, which I think everyone probably has, but this is just me and my bio. I also have my daily schedule in here, so the students who, if they decide that they want to come on campus, can do so. And it's there in detail, so they know when I'm available, when I'm not. The other thing that I have on here is we have discussion boards each week, and in these discussion board rules, they are there. Everyone kind of knows the expectations and exactly what it is that is expected of them. I also have a link to my textbook, and I have the textbook here. This is from this is Beginnings 1865. This is the Scarlet Letter, which we read and do a critical edition. And then they have the available e-text. So if they were to click on here, it takes them to the Norton spot where they can, all they have to do, since they've already logged in, they have access to it, and they can go into the ebook and they can read it however they want. So that's just something that they have access to with all the digital availability of these days. Is a wonderful way for them to be able to access everything they need. And it works really well over here because for me, I can say, oh, I need to see Christopher Columbus, I need to see other things. They can use it. Now that's not actually, they actually have a hard text as well. That's just something they can use if they sign in. If they buy the textbook new, I worked with the publishers to make sure that the e-text was available. The other thing that I have over here is the weekly folders. And I think that this is one of the things that I've whittled down over the years to a science, because at one point it was confusing because I had too much information and students a lot of times got confused. And so I have the week, the date, and what's available and what needs done. So for example, in week 1, obviously they see me. Here's my introduction video. I do one for the classes, and I've got the embedded from...
Hey class, I'm Louis Nenny. I'm your English instructor for
It's me.
231.
Yep.
I want to give you an intro to just the class and kind of introduce myself, as I've just asked you to do this thing. It's the least I can do. First of all, a little about myself. I've been...
All right, so that's about what it is, and I like to put those videos in there from time to time. And then I do just one embedded folder in there, so it's not too confusing. And so they can go in, and I put everything in here, so they have their assignments, their student acknowledgement form, where they turn it in. Sometimes I do a course link so that they can get to everything if they need it. And so they can turn it in here instead of doubling things and making things confusing. And then also within that folder there's other things as well. This is the intro and incidental, so I want them to hit the ground running with everything that they need for the class so they know what to do to begin with. So for example, that Safe Assign is there so they know how to submit their essays, not just for the sake of having it there. But then each week they have something, and we did the Lost Colony to begin with, which is a great thing. Here's a lot of the you can actually go see the play. There's some of the USA Today articles, rumors of the Lost Colony, and then they were to just kind of formulate their own discussion on if they believe what they thought about the Lost Colony and so on. So that was an interesting week, but each week is a little different. And then some weeks we do some research, and then there's a week where they test, and this takes them to the test links, which I'll show you in a minute. And then for example, when it's spring break, we give them that, and then I'll give them a week to work on the Scarlet Letter. But another one that's kind of fun here is, you've got these with here's an access to a copy of Poor Richard's Almanac, so they can get all kinds of crazy stuff there if they want it. And then, one post that I've always gotten a kick out of that's fun is the Thomas Jefferson one. It's kind of fun. It's the Declaration of Independence, so I share a video for that. We look at the fate of the signers, which is actually really gloom and doom, but you do realize that these guys were not just fighting for freedom in some political sense, that most of them, and all of them, gave their lives. And that's the kind of thing that we go over to bring in a little more just reality to it. Sons of Liberty is something that I always share with them if they want to watch it. And then, I put the link to their essay in there so they can get that done in the actual the actual thing. The actual thread this week is one that's kind of fun. And so what is it? The Declaration of Independence was drafted. So I asked them, declare your own independence, right? So I want them to write their own Declaration of Independence from whatever they want. and it can be from school, debt, homework, anything. They go on. They have to do the same format and everything, and we just kind of let them do it. And you can see with some of the posts in here that they picked, from government and taxes, social media, lots of different things. And so, I try to make the discussion boards a little more relevant to their daily life, which always helps when the students get bored at this time of the year. I do have a testing folder, and in this testing folder I've got each test is organized. I help them with their MLA citations because it is a writing class, it's writing intensive. And then there's some videos that help them if they are, there are people who are not sure how to write, so all these things are here. How do I use my quotes? How do I get involved? Where's my thesis? Things like this. And a lot of these are very helpful for them. There's also a link here to a Norton Study Space, and the Norton Study Space helps them because it for one gives them this right here, which is the e-text, but it also gives quizzes, and these quizzes are on whichever and whatever it is that they want to use. So they can go in and they can look at the quiz, and the quiz gives them all kinds of things. How long did Columbus' first voyage take, right? And so this is something they have access to without being high stakes. They can use this, and I always encourage it and ship it out for them. And a lot of those are in the multiple choice test, because if you were to look at the syllabus states that the multiple choice tests are not weighted as heavily, because obviously that's a way to combat some of the cheating I've dealt with in the past. All three tests together only make up 25% of my overall course load. The weight is more in the essays, because the essays are something that obviously I've got Safe Assigned to use for. So here's an example in test 1. The essay says 2 to 3 pages. The Spanish and English often referred to the indigenous people as savages. We have come to find out over the years this was not true. So using De la Casa's letter, Cortez's notes, citing specific quotes that Columbus and his men perpetrated atrocities upon. So this is the idea of how I get around the cheating. This is not something that they have to cite textual evidence to support it. They have to have analysis, and of course, like everything, I use the rubric and I give them access to that rubric so that they know my expectations, because that's critical is getting ahead of it. And then that's about everything as far as testing. I have this periods notes section here. I transferred them all to be compliant. There's an actual study site they can go to, which is a little different. Access denied. It's similar to what we saw earlier, but this actually gives them all kinds of things as well. The notes that we go through. It also gives them the timelines, and these are in the text. So if they don't have the textbook with them, because the text is pretty large, they can use this. And it makes connections. You can pick all these things, and these are things that I don't necessarily require, but they're embedded if they're interested, because it's just a way to kind of get beyond and to look through things if they need to. The other thing you'll see here is I have a literary analysis, and it gives you the assignment, and it tells you when it's due, and it gives you themes to how to chart your themes. And one thing I've done with this class is, since writing intensive has been instated, they do have to have peer review. And so this is a peer review setup where they all have their own little group online. So all they have to do is hit this sign up, and bam, you are in your editing group, and you have friends, and you can do whatever you want in that group. So you have access to a file exchange, which actually, if we go through this angle, that file exchange is where they can post everything, and everyone can edit anything they want. They also have a group discussion board they can use, and they can send emails to each other. But in all reality, they use this to really edit their sheets, and my peer editing sheet is in there for them as well, and it's a good way for them to stay in touch with a smaller group instead of trying to include the whole class in everything. And then, of course, they've got everything else that they need available through here. The discussion boards I've usually hidden because I like them to go into them when they need them so they don't get confused. And I think that's about it. Not a whole lot more I can explain. I think it looks, one thing I always work on is making sure that it's student friendly, and I think that when it comes right down to it, everything they need is on the left. Not a lot more, not a lot less. And my goal is to make sure that they can find what they need when they need it. So, hope you like it. Hope I win.